I kind of want to talk about heroes at large. So in esports, MOBAs are easily the most oversaturated game type. So what was the thought process going into the initial stages of Heroes Esports and approaching that saturated market?
Yeah, so for us, when we were really looking at what we were going to do with Heroes Esports, well, this is actually pretty easy for me to speak on because that was my job. So I got hired about 18 months ago, and I was asked to come in and really take a look at what we were doing with Heroes Esports and how we can level it up. Mm-hmm. And so what I did when I came in is I spent my first 3 to 4 months jumping on planes and going to Europe, going to Korea, going to China, sitting down, meeting with the teams, sitting with the community, sitting with the players, sitting with the owners, figuring out what's going right, what's going wrong, what needs to go better, what do we need to change, how's communication, how do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? And I just spitballed with all of them. And ultimately, HGC is a collection of everybody's wants and wishes in our community. The kind of basis and foundation of HGC is consistency. When we look at where we were at with Heroes of the Storm Esports in 2016, we had a lot of events going on. They were all over the place, satellite events that eventually came into a tournament, but there was no rhyme or reason into how they hooked up. They didn't all get broadcast on the same channel. And now with HGC, we could say every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 40 weeks out of the year, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., twitch.tv/BlizzHeroes. Like, that's easy, right? And we have one website now that is a one-stop shop for the entire global program where you can go to get VODs, replays, standings, statistics. Really just trying to make it as easy as possible to enter, because that is kind of our motto with Heroes of the Storm in general, and Heroes 2.0 was, guys, this game is approachable, it's got characters that you remember and that you're fond of, it's fun, and there's all this variety. Every game feels different. And so for us on the esports team, our first and foremost goal is to service the community, is to provide a fun, great experience that showcases the best Heroes of the Storm action. And 2, it's to make sure that the game is presented in a way that the guys that made the game want it presented. Mm-hmm. Does it look professional? Does it really actually highlight the best players? Is the format set up to really showcase superstars? Is this something that's going to paint the game in a good light, that's going to be something that organizations want to invest into? Mm-hmm. And so for us, that's what we wanted to do, is that we're not, it doesn't matter how saturated the space is. It doesn't matter if there's 50 million MOBAs and all of them have esports programs. We are not comparing ourselves to them. Our number one responsibility is we have a community. We have a large community that loves this game, and we need to make sure that they're able to watch the best teams around the world compete. And what other esports titles do is great, and that's on them, but it's not a competition. All of us are trying to service our communities and to make sure that our players are stoked and that they have something to talk about. I was actually up until 3:30 in the morning watching the League of Legends Finals World Championship that happened, because I love esports. I love to see what they're doing. Because I know that, I was like, oh man, this was kind of cool. I can incorporate this into mine. And I talk to those guys, and I know they do the same. And it's not, a lot of people try to pit us against each other. Like, oh, Dota versus League of Legends versus CSGO versus Overwatch versus Heroes. Yeah. Any one of us that captures somebody and brings them into esports benefits everybody. League of Legends esports fan could be a fan of a Blizzard game 10 years from now, and our fans could be fans of their games. And ultimately what it is about is creating a professional environment that is respected, and all of us are working really hard to kind of elevate esports to that next level. So hats off to everybody else, and we're just going to keep doing our own thing.
Excellent, excellent. At one of the panels yesterday, it was announced that content changes would be coming in a much smaller but more consistent and regular fashion, as far as, not doing that kind of lump change and spreading it out a bit more. How is that going to affect the professional season and the various teams' abilities to kind of prepare for their upcoming matches if these changes are coming so often?
Totally, good question. We've actually partnered up with our development team, and we have a tournament realm now. And so we're able to dictate the entire patching schedule on our own. And so we'll basically work side by side with the pros. And how we do it is we approach it in 5-week blocks. So there's going to be, HGC week 1 through 5. We'll communicate to our pro players months in advance and say, hey, here's going to be the patch schedule. First 2 weeks are going to be on Junkrat patch with Junkrat enabled. Second 2 are going to be on Alexstrasza patch with Alexstrasza enabled. And then this last one's going to be on the Hanzo patch, but Hanzo's not enabled. And then here's the Western class schedule. Right. And so we'll give them that a heads up. And we actually ask them, hey, are you guys feeling comfortable, or do you guys want to play on this other one? And a lot of times we'll just leave it up to votes and see what the players want to play on at the end of the day. But we're like ready to be agile for that, and I think we welcome more and consistent changes, and I think our professional players do too.
Awesome. Well, I just have a couple fun questions for you to finish some things up. First of all, who's your favorite Blizzard character across any Blizzard game?
Jaina Proudmoore.
Jaina Proudmoore.
Yeah. I just had a crush on her, right? Like as a kid, like she was super hot, and I was, how could you not? It's Jaina.
Definitely.
And she's a badass, right?
Oh yeah. And is this back from Warcraft or WoW?
Yeah, back to Warcraft 3 probably.
Yeah. Excellent. So considering that Jaina is included in Heroes of the Storm, do you think that her Heroes of the Storm iteration properly represents her?
100%.
Awesome.
All right, I mean, you got Blizzard, you've got Water Elemental. Mm-hmm. That's all you need, right? That's Jaina right there. Yeah, I love
some
Jaina.
damage. So, speaking of favorite characters, when going into Heroes of the Storm, how do you balance the kind of fun aspect of using your favorite characters to pound other people's favorite characters in the face against the kind of serious balancing issues of competition?
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's one of those questions that like I'll have to leave to like the balance team or the live discussion team. But it's difficult. I can tell you that much. It's very difficult, right? Because I think one of the things that I had experience with this in a different role, and it really opened up my eyes as somebody who used to be a competitive gamer, is that I would always, I don't want to say always, but I would get salty sometimes, right? You have bad teammates, you have bad games. But what made me really take a step back is when I had to do some balancing, and it's not as cut and dry as people think. And even the people that get deep and complex with like, okay, well, you got to look at people who play in Grandmaster, then you got to look at people who play in Master, and then you got to compare those to people in Bronze, and like, how do you balance that, right? Like, that's going deep into balance. Mm-hmm. Let me take it to another level that I've actually never heard anybody say. What about balancing the game for audiences? What do you do if a character has a 65% win rate in Korea, but a 45% win rate in North America? What do you do if a character has a super high win rate in Bronze, but a terrible, you know what I mean? Like that other layer of complexity is something that other people don't think about, which is other people, there's an entirely other realm that you've never played on with millions of people that have their own meta that's different than your own. And that it's very difficult to keep all that in mind and balance all of that. So just a little tidbit. That's all I got. But.
Fair enough. No, fair enough. Any final thoughts for Heroes fans of the HGC community?
Thank you guys for all your support. It has been an incredible year. We've loved every minute of it. Keep watching. We'll be back next year, January 26th. We'll see you, HGC 2018.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam, so much. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. I hope to do it again sometime.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate it.